The comments of my game theory video has decided to turn on me. Everyone hates me, everyone wants me to die, and everyone thinks I'm a horrible loser. So we're gonna go throughout the comment section and I'm going to react to a lot of the stuff in there. There's obviously going to be gameplay in the background, and yeah, we're gonna put the stuff on the screen and read it in a funky and weird voice that sounds super bad and super horrible. But I hope you understand that it's funny.
Big Wave 12 says, I notice you're nitpicking man things in the video, but not really trying to offer a solution in his timeline. And some of these things you nitpick at, like 806 to me, doesn't have a clear point to what you're trying to say about his timeline. And 919, like, what does FNAF have to do with this? I don't know what his part had to do with Blaze. If you're talking about STH2 and STH and Knuckles. If you're making a video about the timeline, talk about the timeline and stay on what is relevant. 1502. I get where you're coming from, but just because Shadow had his own story in Generations doesn't mean that Silver did too. That's just assuming he did because Shadow did it as well. But you can't just say the same for Metal Sonic by your logic. But we have no Silver Generation, so I don't know where your evidence is that confirms that it's the real Silver. 1649, isn't this the entire video? The reason why you aren't talking about it, it would make more sense to at least just say what's on your mind than to have to make an entire other video just to explain it. Also, just a small, but you really never tried to give a solution on his timeline. Just take this as a constructive criticism and don't hunt me down. And correct me if I'm wrong, I look forward to it.
I don't give solutions when nobody's going to see it. Specifically 1649, okay? When no one's going to see the solutions, and I assumed that video was going to definitely flop. I just assumed that I didn't need to give any solutions. The solution is to literally just take more time on the script. That's the only real solution. Because when you think about it, most of the problems with the game theory video on this is that he didn't take enough time to fact check most of the things on the script. Okay, so let's be very clear. What I mean when I bring up FNAF at 1919 is that it takes a lot of effort to put things into FNAF. You have to do your own research, you have to make sure you make the right connections and understand why those connections are being made. And when you see game theory make those connections, you'll expect them to do that a lot more for everything else, right? No matter what it is, you're going to assume they put the same level of effort in their FNAF theories into their Sonic videos, okay? So when I see that they're not putting as much effort into, well, let's be clear, Sonic and FNAF kind of have the same general timeline foundation where most of the things are fitted together in retrospect, and most of the problems that you have with either the FNAF or Sonic timeline is the lack of clarity in between events. You know what happens in those games, but usually you don't know anything about the connective tissue, and that's the problem. So when I see someone put a lot of effort into making that FNAF video, and there's a lot of reasons you could put that same effort into that Sonic video, well then I'm going to have a lot more questions. For 1502, I'm glad you understand what I'm saying, but Silver Generations is the main possibility, and I have 4 points of contact to basically explain why I say that. The circumstances for the two are almost the exact same. They both are away from the group. When they get absorbed, they aren't actually absorbed in a way that causes them to freeze in time, having Sonic to save them. They also have a rival battle with Sonic where they have to have their Chaos Emeralds obtained, and they are both currently doing their own thing at the time Sonic finds them. Now in Sonic Generations, Shadow doesn't actually have his dialogue, but we already know that Silver was fighting like doppelgangers or duplicates before Sonic found him and fought the shit out of that guy. And in fact, I think that the circumstances are so generally the same, there is no way that Silver Generations isn't a thing that happened. Why it happened, I don't know. It might be Ifrit or something. Imagine if it's fucking Ifrit. I'd die. I'd instantly die. 806 is literally just about the magic flying carpet portion. Let me explain this to you in simple terms. Those moments are interchangeable, and using them as the main basis is a bad conclusion. If he used something else as his main basis, then I would not have an issue, but using the literal scene of Sonic seeing a magic carpet in a book while he's trapped inside the book, and him seeing a magic carpet in real life and being surprised by it, can be interchangeable because he's inside the book and he sees it for the first time, or he's in real life, he sees it for the first time, is confused, and then sees it later, and then is no longer confused because he's seen it before. Either way, those moments are interchangeable. That is it for 806. Thank you, BigWave12, for leaving your comment. It's very, very well thought out, and I enjoyed reading it. Hi, also Titanium Power's best power, okay? Only, like, the only good American Ranger, Titanium Ranger is the best one. Anyway, on to the next comment.
We're gonna take you, we're gonna fucking look at you, we're gonna look at all your social media. We're gonna look at all your social media because you have to be a stupid guy to think the theory was not that bad. I just believe you're so fucking stupid you deserve all the harassment,
That is clearly a joke. That is clearly a joke. Let's be very clear here. You believe your opinion, I believe mine, and then I'll just say, hey, I think you're stupid to believe this theory, but I'm not gonna hate you, I'm not gonna send people to harass you, you know? There's a reason why theory videos exist, to have fun, and while I can get mad at people for getting things wrong in their theories, because it frustrates me, because if you have a bad theory, then your foundation is way more rocky than it would be if you had the facts correct. I can't change your opinion at the end of the day. Just believe what you want to believe.
Comic Fan 1234 states, in one of the Tales tubes, the internet series made specifically to explain the lore elements to a casual audience, they directly acknowledged the events of Knuckles Chaotix, with Knuckles himself mentioning they teamed up with the group. Yes, when they were making Sonic Heroes, they were treating them as a rebooted version of the team, but clearly that is no longer the case from a timeline standpoint.
This point right fucking here has made me the wrongest, most untrustworthy man in history. It has made me so untrustworthy. But like, for real though, yeah, I did get this wrong. I did get this wrong, and I apologize for that. I thought I remembered the Tales tube correctly, but I didn't, and then when I was thinking about older information, I remembered that Chaotix were getting rebooted, and I didn't double check the newer stuff to make sure that stuff was relevant. So yeah, I got that wrong. On to the next comment. Chaos returned in Sonic Battle, and we see that Tikal's spirit is still lingering in Sonic Frontier's prologue animation, so I see no issue with them sourcing her appearance in Sonic Advance 1 as proof of the game taking place after Sonic Adventure. I cannot ask Ian Flynn this question, so I'm going to ask Sagashi Iizuka instead, and he says this 3 years ago. Even if he is alive, Chaos is being treated as if he's dead. So no matter if I'm right or wrong, factually they're just treating the character as if they're dead. Tikal, on the other hand, I don't think I've ever seen her actively want to interact with Sonic outside of Sonic Adventure 1. I might be wrong about that, but I think that's the case. If you have a verifiable source that just says, hey, Tikal interacts with Sonic outside of Sonic Adventure 1, I'll just go ahead and take it, but I've never seen any proof of that. Yeah, you definitely misunderstood the guy, but I understand why you misunderstood him. It's very hard to tell what he's talking about sometimes, specifically because he forgets so much stuff that when he doesn't bring up certain things, you just assume that he forgot about it. Which is fine, but you gotta reevaluate that video, because he definitely did not make that mistake. It just takes the liberty of using context clues whenever he doesn't want to actually, like, solve a problem.
Spawner 2056 says Knuckles in the Tales Tube series acknowledges the events of Knuckles Chaotix when talking about Mighty the Armadillo.
So I guess Ian did retcon it, maybe.
Ian Flynn is my arch nemesis.
Literally the most evil, disturbing, disgusting guy I've ever met in my entire life. He just does everything I don't like in my fucking Sonic games. He does everything that's wrong, nothing that's correct. Everything he does is literally the worst thing ever.
But being serious though, let's look at the world from this. Ian Flynn is the world's arch nemesis. Alright, I keep saying jokes. Ian Flynn will retcon anything. Hopefully after Ian Flynn gets done writing the series, he goes more into a lore manager role and just makes sure that the lore is correct from now on. Because nobody before this cared about lore. Let's be real. Nothing builded on top of each other. Ian Flynn is our foundation for the lore. Think about that. Ian Flynn is our foundation for the lore, because even if the foundation was those other games, they were not really connected. They weren't. I know this is about fucking Matt Pack game theory, okay, but Ian Flynn is God. okay? And I will gladly stare him in the eyes as I give him the biggest, fattest kisses in the world as a joke to my wife that I don't have. Anyway, back on topic. For the last argument, we have something that completely stands on its own, and I'm going to read it out to you for the memes and the lols. I don't know why I said that. Crime Duffler says, I wasn't expecting a really obsessed Sonic fan fixing the already fixed timeline by game theory, but I hope for this video to be more interesting, to have a bit more of a conversation about what Mr. Not Matt Pack got wrong. I also had my couple of nitpicks with the original video, but the only thing I got out of this video is that this guy probably grew up with the GT FNAF theories for such a visceral reaction he got from a nothing burger of an argument, similar to what happened every time on Twitter and Reddit when these people upload something FNAF related. Let's be insanely clear here. I understand what you're saying, that you wanted something more in depth, but I'm not the one to give that to you. Like, there's like a whole bunch more criticism I can make in that video. So many people have come to me with criticisms that I also had, that I have second thoughts on whether the video that I made was really the video I wanted to make, right? At the end of recording for that original video, the video was 45 minutes long, plus an extra 10 minutes for the re-recording, because I always record 2 sets of audio for every video that I make. It's a whole unideal process, okay? It's a really weird process. But like, I have 2 different sets of audios, all of them are different lengths. My longest one was like an hour and 30 minutes going into deep dives about every single thing he said, and I was like, fuck no, I don't have the time to edit that, right? I just don't. I do not have the time to edit that. But I understand what you're saying when you're saying, hey, I expected somebody to go through and tell me every single thing is wrong, but I'm just not the guy who could actually give that exact thing you're looking for to you. I pointed you in general directions that you can go and look at yourself if you genuinely care. And then on the second point about the FNAF stuff, Tom cares about FNAF. He will literally spend like hours, days researching to figure out what he cares about, what he doesn't care about, what he likes, what he doesn't like. He can do the same thing for Sonic, okay? Sonic and FNAF had the same level of lore comprehension, to the fact where you can theorize about fucking Sonic and be right a lot more than you can with fucking FNAF, okay? So when I see people get so many things fucking wrong when they talk about something, it isn't about the theory itself. It's about the evidence you show. Talking about the evidence and knocking down the evidence is inherently nitpicking. No matter what you say, if you say the evidence is inaccurate for a theory, that is nitpick. But if your evidence is inaccurate, it makes everything else way less possible, if that's really how I want to say it. It makes everything a lot less probable. It's like the Jenga Towers fucking pyramid meme. Oh, you can't get through my fucking pyramids with like defensive bottom half layers. Yeah, it's just insane, you know? This is the end of the video, so you can click off now, or you can click that little button in the middle of the screen. It'll take you to my channel page and you can watch that video that's really good in the middle of the channel page. I swear to God, it'll be worth your while. Just go ahead and try it. Also subscribe to these nuts, nigga. Oh, peace.